Now, as far as Mark, do we want to take a moment because we did promise our people a week ago that we would briefly preview the offensive line because spring practice completed on Saturday, and I told you I didn't really want to talk about the O-line until we got a look at it in person. Do you mind if we run through
Absolutely.
some of the takeaways there? So obviously, Jennings, Dunker, Logan Jones remain out. Sounds like they're going to be fine. I'm guessing that by even next month they'll be good to go, if not by June. So I would expect Dunker with Proctor gone, Richmond lined up at left tackle, that Dunker will be your right tackle. Even though I've been told by other people that they think Dunker is more natural at guard, sounds like he's going to remain at right tackle. So you have Richmond and Dunker, two tackle spots. I thought Richmond played pretty well Saturday at times. Jack Dotzler did not. I thought most of the pressure that guys like Deacon Hill received, even Linez, I think at times was from that left side. So, they'll have to keep working on that. I'm sure Kirk's going to be heavily involved once we get to fall camp, as always, and those guys will benefit from yet another summer. However, this whole group, Mark, is no longer young. We've been talking about that for like 2-3 years, how young they are. They're like sprinkled with 5th and 6th year seniors. They're not young at all. They're old. They're like you, Mark. So I'm just joking, of course. Love you, Mark. The point is, Jennings, Dunker, Josh Janowski just got to campus, so he's working with probably the threes right now, maybe mixing in with the twos a little bit. Bo Stevens is back healthy. He missed a lot of time last year. Tyler Ellsbury's working at center with Jones out. Cade Piper emerged late last year. I really didn't notice much from him on Saturday, but maybe that's a good thing. He didn't stand out in a bad way. And then Nick DeYoung is healthy. I know a lot of Iowa fans were kind of upset that they give him a scholarship for a 6th year. He's a former walk-on himself. So, maybe one of those guys really comes on and becomes the stalwart. They need somebody without Proctor to become that representative of that line. Cade Borrett is the center from North Dakota who was a freshman All-American at the FCS level a year ago. He's coming in as a preferred walk-on. He played high school football with Xavier Wampa, Caden Proctor, and all those guys. But went to North Dakota, played really well, and now is back at Iowa. Obviously wants to be because he's paying for his scholarship. We assume the Swarm's not picking up the money for his scholarship that they don't have to give out. I don't know if I'm missing anybody. I mean, Jeremy Chaplin's still at Iowa. Michael Myslinski just can't stay healthy. He was not on the field Saturday. I don't know what's going on with him. Tom Kakert made the statement after the practice that he does, and he was maybe exaggerating a little bit, but he said, I don't think I've ever seen Michael Myslinski in uniform. And I in my first reaction, it sounded funny to me that he said that, but then I'm like, he's right. Like, he has been riddled with injuries, and I know a lot of people liked him coming out of high school. They got him. I believe they either flipped him for Michigan State or it was down to Iowa, Michigan State. And ever since 2021, when he redshirted, he has just been dinged up. He's an academic all Big Ten guy 2 years in a row. He's obviously a very intelligent young man, but just can't stay healthy. So, boy, it'd be nice to have some luxury there at center. But proof's going to be in the pudding. There's just no more excuses for this unit up front, and no more excuses for George Barnett. I mean, yeah, they lost Caden Proctor. Who does the blame lie on there? I mean, you got to figure out how to work with this very experienced group. Trevor Lauk was a 4-star. Maybe he can emerge as a second-year guy. He is young, but he's been around the program for a year now. Connor Colby's another one. I don't think I mentioned him. Mentioned Dotzler struggled. Cale Crow is a kid from just south of me here in Story County that apparently has been buried. Do they lose somebody there in the portal? Maybe. I don't want to take guesses as to who that may be. I wouldn't be shocked, and it might be to the benefit of the program if one of those guys that's buried leaves because they need the scholarships. And there's a couple of guys that we just haven't seen headway since they got to campus.
It happens fast, by the way, Corey. You go from being young and thinking you're young to one day you wake up and all of a sudden. So just remember that. Someday you'll think, that guy I used to do that show with, what was he? The mouth of college? What was he? The mouth of college foot? Whatever he was. He told me that it happens in a hurry.
It won't be me forgetting what your moniker was. It'll be you forgetting.
That could be. Yes. No. YouTube's a new entity, relatively speaking, but some of us may be here at 80 years old and still,
Could you
with
imagine?
YouTube channels and being like, I don't even remember what's our name.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Start talking about like the 1986 Rose Bowl all the time. I'm going to throw something out here because, of course, we would take our jabs at Brian Ferentz, and he deserved much of it in regards to his stay as an offensive coordinator, but his expertise along the offensive line. I know he wasn't coaching the position as of late, but could that be missed?
What do you mean missed? What do you mean by that? Could it be
quote unquote expertise, his knowledge of offensive line play?
The offensive line has sucked for years. It's sucked for 3 straight years. They've been awful. The O-line has not been good, Mark. When he was the OC here, the O-line was not good.
Okay, I was just checking.
The O-line was better when he was coaching the O-line, but it has declined. So, no, I mean, I'm sure, yeah, I mean, he's got expertise as a former center and former player at center. But, no, I could they benefit from it? It would be such a disaster to bring him in as an analyst. I mean, like, from a PR standpoint, that would be, I mean, Kirk Ferentz is supposed to be the O-line guru here. Now, here's something I thought about yesterday or the day before. It was announced that Gary Dolphin's partner, Ed Podolak, Iowa Hawkeye great Ed Podolak, who's been on Iowa radio networks for years, that he is stepping away and is taking on a lesser role, will provide some pregame analysis, for the Hawkeye Radio Network. But that means that the University of Iowa is looking for a new analyst alongside Gary Dolphin. I don't know how long Gary Dolphin has in the booth anymore either. But how about this for a name, Mark? To sit alongside Gary Dolphin. Brian Ferentz. Brian Ferentz.
Is he a good communicator?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you've heard him communicate, Mark. You've heard him communicate. I think he likes to filibuster. But I just think it would be such an intriguing thing. Now, the university will never do that. But I think it would be such an intriguing thing to have him alongside Gary because he's got no problem talking. He likes to sound like he knows a lot about football, which I have no doubt that he does know a lot about football. But wouldn't it be interesting when he's the guy that Iowa kind of that the fan base kind of ran out of town, if he returned in that role, an innocent role, right? He's not involved in coaching. But could it almost be like a redemption story if he returned to be alongside the voice of the Iowa Hawkeyes? Like, if he returned, let loose of his pride and was like, you know what? These are my roots. I'm returning to it if they'll let me. And I'm going to be because you got to be a Hawkeye homer to be next to Gary Dolphin. Gary Dolphin's a Hawkeye homer. Like, I try to, I know I'm a homer too in a lot of regards. I try to be somewhat objective. Gary's got to be a homer. It's kind of in his contract. So whoever's sitting next to him has to be a homer as well. It won't ever happen, but I think it's an intriguing idea.
Well, for him to match and then surpass the negativity that he has left with the Iowa fan base, he would have to hold down that role for like 30 years.
I don't know about that. If the offense is successful with Tim Lester and Brian can at least become a non-adversarial figure, right? Like, that's, I think, what we're talking about. We're not talking about him becoming some beloved person like Kirk, but a non-adversarial figure. Now, here's another one. I mean, Don Patterson would be terrific at the job, but Don Patterson's 72 years old. I mean, they're not probably going to be hiring a 72-year-old. Don's been working with ESPN. I mentioned a couple of names here, and Mark, if you've got one, feel free to throw it out there. Danon Hughes, I'd at least call Danon. Danon's been working radio with the Chiefs for quite a while. He does Big Ten Network stuff for baseball. He would be a guy I'd at least call. He's probably happy down in Kansas City doing stuff for the Chiefs, but he's a Hawkeye. Give him a call. Paul Brandstetter. My goodness. Am I thinking of politics now? Paul Burmeister, who I believe is on Notre Dame radio, former Hawkeye QB. Again, I'm guessing Notre Dame might be able to pay a little bit better, but he's a former Hawkeye. I mean, he's got great experience, I'd be giving him a call. And then the other one is Chuck Long. He's got broadcasting experience. I know maybe things aren't real great between Kirk and Chuck. I don't know what their relationship is right now, but I mean, he's so recognizable. He's a Heisman finalist at Iowa. People know his voice. Like, I don't know that he's big enough of a homer. He's been very critical of certain things over recent years. I don't listen to the radio a ton now, but I would like for him to be alongside Gary. I think it'd be a great tandem.
I would like to serve up for the chat. Don't go to Google. Do not go to Google. What is Ed Podolak's greatest claim to fame? I don't think there's any question about this based on my knowledge of the sport. I might be wrong, but I think this is pretty clear cut. Ed Podolak's greatest claim to fame. So we'll leave that for the chat too.
It's not when he got pulled. Didn't he get arrested for OWI or
no.
Not
this
OWI.
Is not a negative thing.
Public intox. I think it was when he was with the Chiefs, right? Something he did with the Chiefs.
Yeah, he had a remarkable triple overtime, double overtime game. It's the longest game in the history of the NFL in the 71 playoffs. Dolphins Chiefs. He had a remarkable game, like a kickoff, return touchdown, receiving touchdown, scored like 3 different times, 3 different ways, something like that. And but the Dolphins won on a Garo Yepremian field goal to win the longest game in NFL history, which still stands.
Okay. A couple other good names in the chat. Maybe a Chad Greenway. Iowa is in the process of recruiting his daughter, Madden Greenway, to play basketball at Iowa, but it's kind of an aside. And then Dallas Clark has been seen around Iowa events a lot lately with Caitlin Clark. He's a guy. Has he done any broadcasting you're aware of, like NFL wise?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Yeah. So, but maybe he is. I mean, I think I was thinking of Tony Gonzalez. But anyways, yeah, those are good names. I'm thinking of guys who have experience or beloved guys like Brian Ferentz.